So it is spinning. Hi, we are live on the Shine with Julie show. I'm so happy to get this kicked off today. And we have Amazeballs Adena Zender in the house. So glad to have you, Adena. Just a little bit about my guest today. She is a coach of mine. She is a transformational coach. She is a positive vibration queen, which I love that and speak so highly of who you are, Adena. She is a former educator of 17 years, and she loves encouraging people and helping them reach their goals. And as we go through today, you're going to learn a lot more about her and how she can help you. So let's get started, Adena. Please tell our audience about yourself.
Awesome. Julie, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so happy. I'm super excited to be on the show today. This is awesome. And I love the title of your show, Shine with Julie, because you shine your inner light, and it's so amazing and beautiful. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sure. So yes, just a little bit about me. I am a wife and a mom. I've been married to my husband for 17 years, coming up on 18 pretty soon this summer. So cool. And I have two kiddos. My son is 13 and my daughter is 8, and they are both back to school in person, even part of the week. And we are so grateful during this pandemic. So happy. That's really good.
Woo-hoo. Celebration time.
Big cheers on that one, for sure. So good. And we live in Santa Barbara, California. We live by the beach. Our weather is really beautiful. I'm so grateful for where we live. It's a wonderful place. And as you mentioned, career-wise, I have been a teacher and educator for many years. And just last year, I transitioned into becoming a transformational coach, which has been a huge blessing. And I super love it. And I get to help people find their purpose, manifest their dreams. I get to help women, get into routines and systems so that they can live a more present and powerful life. And that's just awesome. So a little bit about me.
You do it super well, Adena. So I'm very thankful you got out of teaching so that you could help me.
Awesome, girl. Thank you. So good. So good.
So tell me about that transition, because going from a classroom teacher to becoming an entrepreneur, tell me about that journey. What inspired you to do that?
Okay, awesome. Great question. So I have had entrepreneurialism in my blood like my whole life, pretty much. I love creating new things, doing new things. And my grandfather was the founder, one of the co-founders of the Sambo's restaurants back in the 1950s. And he started it here in Santa Barbara with one of his best friends, and it became a national chain. It is. It's really amazing. And we're so grateful for that. It's like our family history, our family story. And he always inspired us as kids and his children, grandchildren, to do what you want, to be what you want, to chase after your dreams. And so I started my first little business, Julie, when I was 10 in Hawaii. So cool. I grew up in Hawaii.
Was it a lemonade stand?
No, ma'am.
Most 10-year-olds are starting.
Yeah, for sure. It was bigger than that. It was. My mom and I kind of created this idea, which was really fun. My dad was a fisherman, one of his many things, and he competed in the billfish tournament, which is a huge thing. People come from all over the world to go, compete. And we saw a bunch of little lures, and I saw these colors. And I was like, oh, those would be really pretty earrings. So I created this business with my mom, and it was called Adena Artwear. And we had little lures that were like fluorescent pink and yellow. And this is in the 80s. So it was like perfect.
Right. Fun colors.
Totally bright and cheery, And then we just put a little earring hook through it and then wore them as earrings. I wish I had a copy right now I could show you, but super fun. And so we sold them in little shops downtown in Hawaii, and even at my grandpa's restaurant over on the Big Island. We had a little spot for it. So that was one of my first things that I did. And I was very inspired even as a child to create and always have something going on. So yeah, that's a little bit where it came from. But back to your question about teaching and entrepreneurialism and starting my business. So there was a pinnacle moment for me in a sophomore class that I was teaching at one of my high schools here locally. And kids were asking me about careers. And they were asking me, what happens for adults? Can you change your career? What if you get into it and you don't like it? What if it's not who you really are? And I was like, okay, let's go.
Game on.
Totally. I was like, this is everything I want to talk about today. And we just scrapped
Mhm.
the lesson plans. And it was so beautiful because we had such a lively conversation with the teens about really tapping into who you are, what you want to do. And it is perfectly great to change your mind. And it's wonderful to shift your careers. And you probably will do that. And I explained to them, I said, gone are the days that you guys do high school, college, pick a career, get to it at 70, get your Rolex and retire. And then that's the end of the story.
Doesn't
That
happen anymore.
you
Very
got it.
rarely. Very
For
rarely.
sure. There might be a few people that still do that, but it's not common.
Right.
So the questions being asked, how do you find your perfect career? All this kind of stuff. It was really empowering. And I left feeling so inspired, and that didn't stop. And we had a few more chats about that. And I really was feeling more of a movement towards coming into the coaching field. And along with social media, I was posting a lot of videos about mindfulness and different things, and realizing that my audience had changed, that I wasn't just, meant to be in the classroom. It was beautiful for the time, but it was time for me to then switch and move into the coaching field. So that's kind of how I made my decision.
Yeah. So it doesn't always, well, it never, I will say this, not many times can you say never, but it never is easy, right? So talk about some challenges that happened along the way and what you did to overcome that.
Okay, awesome. And I like to share this too with our clients, and maybe you and I've talked about this in the past, Julia, is like, being an entrepreneur is no straight line to success. We don't just get on the boat and we're like, we're there, destination. Ooh,
right. Nope. It goes like this.
Right.
And sometimes you fly off the road.
Sure, girl. Like, you're not in the boat and you're like, oh, we're already
Right.
down to Baja, California. It's so beautiful. That was
How did I get there?
Totally. No, it doesn't happen like that at all.
Yeah.
It's like starts and goes, and you're on the boat and you're like, I don't want to be on this boat. You get off the boat, you get back on, then it goes for a while. It's just like constant confusion a little bit.
Yes.
But this is the story of our life, right? This is the story of our life and who we are. So one specific challenge I can think of, I was manifesting for 2020 to become a life coach and dive into that, which I did. I'm very grateful. But January hit, February, and then we knew what happened in March. So March happened and COVID came to America. I need my sound machine. Totally. The pandemic.
Right.
So we had that here, and we all had to adjust. And just as I was gearing up to start my business, work with my best friend, Sarah Strizzy, different things going on, I really had to be present to my family and my kids, which everybody did at the time. And I had to take a moment and really look at what was going on. And quite a few all the schools had closed, and not many of them had any kind of online lessons or work or school.
Oh, wow.
And so, I got the inspiration to backtrack a little bit and put on my teacher hat and become a teacher again. And so I started an online school. I did an elementary class, and I did a junior high and high school class, and I did that for 2 months. And it was called Adena Zender's online school.
You were like a savior to all these parents. They're like, what do we do now?
Totally. Thank you. It was such a blessing too, Julie. Like, I had the gift of teaching my own children, even nieces and nephews and their cousins from all over. We were mostly West Coast. Some people from East Coast asked to join, and I was perfectly fine. But mostly West Coast kids, Seattle to San Diego, all over, even Arizona. And I had the blessing of working with them a couple hours a week, and inspiring them. And it was great because parents, just like you said, it gave them structure, and it gave them routine. And it gave them an opportunity to have a schedule when everybody's schedule just went out the window and nobody knew what to do. And even for me, it was a blessing for me because I had a purpose too. I was thinking, yikes, what am I going to do with my business? What's going on? I can't send my kids to school. What's happening? So for everybody, it was a huge blessing. And what started out as a big challenge turned into a gift. And I knew I would end it by summer. I knew it wouldn't continue through the year, but it was really needed at the time that I was able to do that.
Well, and I love how you were able, as an entrepreneur, part of what we need to do is recognize the market that we're in at the time. Like you said, you had this grand plan, but yet there was a huge need out there. So kudos to you for recognizing that and shifting, but taking your same focus, scheduling your own time, doing things virtually, right? That was a whole big learning curve, I'm guessing. And then to get out into that world and provide a solution to a problem. That's really what great entrepreneurs do. They find a problem that people are having and they solve it. However, even in that small amount that you did, that's wonderful.
Amen.
So you like launched into this full force, and even though you have older kids, they were there with you. So talk about, there's probably people watching that have younger kids, people again who still have kids at home or are coming home for the summer now. They went for a month and now they're there again. So how do you work your business around your family? What does that look like for your family?
Such a great question. And I like to think of it that I do my passions and my work alongside the family and their obligations and their joys and their activities, because I think sometimes women work around it, or they put their kids' stuff at the center of everything. And this is a key thing that I want to share, Julie, and I think you can totally relate and agree. It's super important for us as women entrepreneurs to make ourselves a priority, both self-care, our sleep, our health, time away, all of this. Yes. And we really had a year, totally, right, girl? We had a year to really look at that and say, okay, there's a lot of demands on me as a mom. Like now all the kids are home. I wear all the hats. I am the housekeeper. I am the cook. I am the mom. I'm also working a business. Now I'm your teacher. I'm the right? Yes. Because all these things were like, what is happening?
Right. Yeah.
So to answer that, I really believe it's putting, and if you have faith, which we both do, putting God at the center, right? Putting God at the center and our marriages, but also having our kids' activities alongside what we're doing and not making just everything they do the massive priority of the whole house. And that is really important because someday they're going to grow up and move on, and you're going to be with your spouse if you have a partner, right? And your marriage matters and your relationship with God matters. Not to say that your children are a huge priority. Amen to that. But we cannot put them at the center. And I've seen that before and I've watched it crumble. And it's a little heartbreaking when people put all their kids' stuff as the most important in their family life, and the kids move out and the mom or dad is just like empty, and it's rough, So.
Yeah. Agreed. That's awesome. So we've talked about the pandemic. We've talked about kids coming home. We've talked about, those are surprises. Those are things that happen. But, part of what that reminds me of is there's a lot of negative out there. We may have a negative family member. We may, have as much as we try to block out, as much as you and I know, try to block out the negativity, it's still there. So do you have any advice for how to stay positive amidst negative around us?
Great question. And I love that you're asking me that. And I've given myself the positive vibration queen title.
I loved that.
Thank you so much. Because I want to stay in that space. I want to stay in that space. So I have a couple tips on that. First one is, it's a mindset. It straight up is a mindset, and you manifest what you put out. What you focus on, you get back. And so if we're focused on being positive, if we're focused on giving positivity, that's what's going to come back to us. It's the law of attraction, right? If we want more love in our life, we give more love. If we want more joy, same thing, right? And so it's a daily mindset, and sometimes it's an hourly mindset, right? For people, it's something we're like, whoa, I'm getting over here. I want to come back to center,
right?
So that's a key one for me. That's the first thing. Secondly, I don't allow negativity into my space, Julie. And I can give you and our viewers tips on this, right?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is perfectly fine to unfollow, to snooze, or delete anybody in your feed that has a negative vibe. People that are putting out controversial things, political things, nasty things, rude things, they do not need to be in your space. You don't have to read that. You know,
Yes.
we don't need to see that. We have so much more control of what we watch and hear and read than we believe. We don't have to have the news streaming 24/7 in our house. We don't need negative voices everywhere. We can
Correct.
control that. So
Yes.
I don't allow it in my field, my energy field, much at all. And then when things come at me, I have a very clear phrase that I just say, I don't receive that. And I've done that to people before. And they're kind
They
of
love
like,
that, don't you? And they're like, "What? What do you
so
mean?"
it's shocking, right? And things that have been said about my kids or this or that, I don't receive that.
Yeah.
And people are stunned. They'll just sit
Mhm.
there and be like, whoa, wait, what? But I'm blocking their words and their energy at me. Like, you're not going to bring that into my world. I don't. It's not who I am, and I'm not going to receive it. It's not my life. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then um, my third one is comedy, humor, girl, all the time.
Laugh.
Yeah,
Laugh.
totally. What else are we going to do? I mean, we're in this pandemic.
Right.
What are we going to do?
And I'm pretty sure that's why life gives you the moments like your camping trip, Adena.
Totally.
Adena had a horrible camping trip, but yet all her pictures were of laughing, and she talked about how her family just chose to laugh. And I
Yeah.
love that about you. You choose. It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's not something that always comes easy, but you have to choose it. And the more you choose it, the easier it becomes. I'm guessing, right?
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, what do you get? You either we laugh or we cry. We always say that. And so whatever choice you make, there it is,
There it
but
is.
and it's part of why I created my little alias character of Milano Mama on social media. It just, she's this funny lady that tells all these silly stories about crazy stuff. And then it just turns the volume down.
Mhm.
So the world is trying to be negative and bring all this negative junk and vibes at you. It's just like, I'm just gonna laugh about it. I'm just gonna make light of it, and then it chills out too, and you don't carry it so long. Sometimes we can hold on to things that are hurtful or bad for a long time, but if
Mhm.
it's humor and you just push it over there, it's all good. Those are the ways that I deal with it.
I love that. So now there's probably somebody out there, I know me for a long time. I knew that I was supposed to go be an entrepreneur, but I was kind of scared to leave what I knew. And I'm guessing you felt that way in your teaching, whether it might have been fear or, just leaving something that you loved to do something else that you will also love and you're called to do. I think there's, that too. What advice would you have for that person who's thinking, oh my gosh, there's something I want to do. I don't know how to get started. I don't know if I should. What would you say to that person?
That's so great. Such a good question, Julie. So I do a lot of, well, of course, prayer. But even one is a pros and cons list. And I'm just thinking this as you're asking me this question right now. A lot of big life decisions I've made have been creating a pros and cons list. And if people haven't done that before, it's really simple. You guys just take out a piece of paper and you write all the pros of one thing and then the cons, the negatives, and you do the same for both choices, especially when you have two choices. It's a little harder, 3, 4, 5, easier with two.
Right.
And sometimes it'll jump out at you, right? There'll be a ton of positives and then just like 2 cons. And then, or there'll be like tons of cons and only, a few pros. And
Right.
you might be able to find the answer to that. That's just one like tangible way. But another, and this is one that I like to resonate on and kind of mill over, and I've shared before with a few clients, is looking at your life when you're older. So looking at your life at 85 and sitting, hanging out with a friend and saying, and looking back on your life and thinking, did I do everything I wanted? Was I in the career or job that I love? Did I marry somebody that just melts my heart or that I'm really compatible with? Like, kind of looking at that. And I know probably most of us will live with a few regrets, right? We'll have a few
Right.
things,
Sure.
but I put them out on the big scale. I hope it's not I hated that job for 50 years and I never got out. And it was just so torturous. And I was on a hamster wheel and I spent more time there than with my family and it didn't fulfill my soul. So I feel like if somebody is there,
Yes.
it's time to go. You know, it is time to get out, but also to do it safely and with caution regarding like your own bills, right? I'm not anybody that's going to recommend like,
Right.
hey, just leave your job. You hate it. And I hope you can pay next month's rent.
Right. Go live on the street while you build your business. No.
Yeah.
That
Not
adds
gonna
so much
happen.
stress too. That really is not
Absolutely.
recommended.
Absolutely. And that's not a safe choice, but to
Right.
work on it until you get to that point. So maybe you're in a job you don't like. You then find out what you love. You did your pros and cons list. You realize that, you know, you want to be, you know, a musical artist and you are a great drummer. So you're practicing drumming outside of your work hours and you're really cutting out time, you're time blocking to get yourself to a space where you can leave that day job and move into it. So those would be a little bit of my tips on that.
And I love that you said that because I do think that when you start something new that's your passion, and even if you're in a job that is stressful or that you don't like, there's that ray of hope. You know, you're ending your day job, but there's that ray of hope. You get to go and do something you love, and there's intention behind it. So I think that it spurs that inner, you know, excitement and can leave the energy of the icky job behind.
Absolutely. And it creates more too, right? So if that
Right.
person does want to be a professional drummer, then they're in a space of creativity. So it's just
Right.
going to emanate more and then they're going to attract more of that. So it
Correct.
all of it works out positive on that
Yeah.
case.
So tell me, outside of your business, what do you think your biggest accomplishment is?
Such a good question. Biggest accomplishment. Well, just being proud of my family, Julie, you know, being proud of my family and grateful for my family, knowing that, especially after COVID, well, I could say I kept my children alive.
Yay!
My kids are alive. We've made it through.
They
Totally.
made it.
They weren't starving.
They're
Mama
still
fed them.
here.
Daddy
They're
fed them.
still happy and healthy. Yes.
For
Yep.
sure. So there's a big one, right? Yeah, but really, I don't know. I think seeing after or during this pandemic, I pray we're coming to the end of it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. But during this pandemic, it's been really clear about relationships, right? Like a lot of marriages that weren't going to make it just didn't. They ended, you know, and ones that did were tested. And I'm super grateful and proud of my marriage with my husband, James. He's an amazing man. And we've worked to create a beautiful life. It hasn't been easy, but it's been a huge blessing. So
awesome.
thank you. I'm so proud of that. And of course my kids too, you know, and just a big accomplishment I would say is I'm getting closer to living more presently in my life. And my favorite life verse is be still and know that I'm God, Psalm 46:10. And being in that space of like, I'm here right now with Julie and we're having a great time doing an interview. And I'm not thinking about anything else and I'm not worried about anything else and I don't have anything else on my mind. So that's a huge accomplishment. I've been working to do that and spending more mindful meditation.
Yeah.
So I would add that too, for sure.
And that's a whole other thing that, you know, yes, it's definitely something that we need to work on in society today. And I need to work on that is being present where you're at with the people you're with. So that is a great reminder. I'm going to flash up here real quick. Adena, we're coming to the end of our interview and I want people to know how to find you. You are on Facebook, you have a YouTube channel and you do your own show, right? So let people know when that is and they can tap in on here.
Perfect. Yeah. So my show is on the Amazeballs Channel, Amazeballs Adena, my name.
Love it.
So fun. Thank you. So people can find me. It's at 5:30 Pacific PM on Tuesday nights. So they can watch that and they can see it on the replay. And you guys can just like my page, Amazeballs Adena. And also that's the same one on Instagram and YouTube. All of those are the places that you can find me with the same name. So hope to see you guys on that.
Fantastic. Well, Adena, thank you so much for your time today and your nuggets of knowledge. I have lots of things I want to go back and capture for
Yay.
myself. I was being present though. I didn't take notes this
Yes.
time. So I'm going to go back to the recording and do that. But thank you
Awesome.
again, and I will see you all next week on Shine with Julie, same time, 12 o'clock Central Time on Thursday.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you, Julie. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks so much.